Thank you for introducing me. I would like to thank you for inviting me to speak in politics. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in all workshops, but I really enjoyed all lightning rounds presentations and workshops I was able to attend. As you mentioned, I hold a PhD in organizational behavior, and I specialized in distributed teams. I'm Hungarian. And today I draw on both my research and a bit about consulting work to talk a little bit about lessons on how organizational design shapes what we actually can implement in complex systems. All right. So when we talk about organizational failure, most organizations explain it well, people didn't execute it well enough, which is very convenient. However, it's usually also wrong. When a strategy, a process, or a change initiative fails repeatedly across a competent team, we are not having a human problem, we are having a design failure. Execution should be an output on how work, decisions, and authority are structured together. I should have used PowerPoint, but here we are. Remote and hybrid work are often blamed for implementation breakdowns, and what distributed work actually does is removing the compensating mechanisms of physical proximity. So when people share space, they patch over bad decisions through hallway decisions, informal coordination, and social pressure. But once work becomes distributed, those fixes disappear. And one of the most persistent implementation myths is that failure implies resistance. However, most people behave perfectly rationally within their constraints, but unfortunately, right decisions are not easy decisions in distributed teams, and that is one of the biggest organizational problems. So how can we architecture this? So when it comes to organizations, they endlessly talk about culture, but culture does not compensate for missing architecture, decision architecture. And empowerment without bounded authority does not produce autonomy, unfortunately. So if no one clearly owns the whole decision, implementation will fragment every time, each time, and in every team. So when implementation fails, then we usually respond by adding more meetings, more documentation, more tools, also more expenses. But this increased coordination without changing the structure leads to getting people busier, slower, and usually more frustrated, unfortunately. So in our consulting work, what we constantly find as this is a design inefficiency made visible by distributed work, not the other way around. And one of the most reliable indicators in this case is that implementation requires heroes. If a system only works when exceptional people overperform, then the system is broken. We need to make right decisions easy ones. Good organizational design makes the desired behavior the path of least resistance. So when implementation fails, the right question is not why didn't people execute? It's why did the system make rational, easy, and unavoidable? Until that question is answered honestly, we are going to see implementation fail each time. And let's talk a little bit about solutions. I know we don't have a lot of time here. So first step is always clarity. Every key decision should have a single owner, someone who can act without waiting for consensus from invisible stakeholders. Then we need to make work transparent. Task dependencies, handoffs, and critical paths must be mapped and visible. Then design around rational behavior. Incentives, metrics, reporting lines, everything should support the desired outcomes. We also need to reduce coordination friction. Meetings, tools, communication, everything should be designed to solve problems, not to compensate for our structural weaknesses. At the end, organizational memory is critical. Distributed teams lose context unless decisions, processes, and lessons are not just documented, but also easily accessible. Finally, as most of us are researchers and scientists, we should treat every implementation, every project, every organizational design as a scientific experience. Test changes, measure results, adapt, react. Implementation success is a property of the system. It shouldn't be on heroes, on heroic individuals. That should be that. Thank you for your attention.